COVID-19 pandemic of 2020, worn out by the madness of modern life. Now, this isn't a book about the pandemic, though when history tells our story, COVID-19 will be our generation's World War II, the global catastrophe we all shared and lived through. What began in 2020 was a shared experience of global trauma, and trauma takes a toll. The long experience of losses, great and small, all the high-volume tension around masks, quarantines, vaccines, school closures, and on the list goes. Journalist Ed Young won the Pulitzer for his coverage of the pandemic, and here's one of the things he found. Millions have endured a year of grief, anxiety, isolation, and rolling trauma. Some will recover uneventfully, but for others, the quiet moments after adrenaline fades and normalcy resumes may be unexpectedly punishing. When they finally get a chance to exhale, their breaths may emerge as sighs. People put their heads down and do what they have to do, but suddenly, when there's an opening, all these feelings come up, the founder and director of the Trauma Stewardship Institute told me. As hard as the initial trauma is, she said, it's the aftermath that destroys people. You see, gang, right now, we're in a sort of global denial about the actual cost of these hard years, which are not over. We just want to get past it all. So we're currently trying to comfort ourselves with some sense of recovery and relief. But folks, we haven't yet paid the psychological bill for all we've been through. We would never tell a survivor of abuse that the trauma must be over now that the abuse has stopped. And yet that mentality is at play in our collective denial of the trauma we've been through. We need to be kinder to our souls than that. Denial heals nothing, which is why I'm actually more concerned about what's coming than what lies behind. You see, in our compromised condition, worn out, again, not just by the pandemic and those years, but worn out by the pace of modern life and just the crazy that we all have to navigate, we are now facing some of the trials that Jesus warned us about as we approach what the scriptures refer to as the end of the age. Extraordinary times can be thrilling, but they also tend to be very demanding. Our hearts will need some guidance and preparation. It would be a really good idea to take the strength of your soul seriously right now. A plague is an ominous and eerie thing. Fear of death suddenly swept the world. Death unseen and unpredictable, death by plague. In a matter of weeks, we all found ourselves in various forms of quarantine and lockdown. Schools, churches, businesses all closed their doors. The economy reeled, and the economy seems to be reeling still. Everything that makes for a joyful, normal life was taken from us in a moment and withheld for many, many months. Now follow me closely. To be suddenly stripped of your normal life, to live under the fear of suffering and death, to be bombarded with negative news, to be kept in a state of constant uncertainty about the future with no clear view of the finish line, and to lose every human countenance behind a mask. Can I just point out that this is exactly the torment that terrorist regimes use to break down prisoners psychologically and physically? Okay? So, folks, this had a traumatic effect, and we've got to plan for our recovery and find new resilience. I've been working in the soul care space for almost 40 years as a trained therapist and working with people all around the world in strengthening the soul, the heart, the life of the heart. We've learned some really important things that I want to share with you. But here's the problem. As one friend recently said to me, hey, at least we can just get back to our normal lives. But That's not exactly